are courts going to resolve these issues? Do you really believe that we've now reached a stage where these issues can't be reconciled by the two sides through interfaith harmony? Therefore, willy-nilly, each of these cases, and the Citizenship Amendment Act obviously stands on a different plane in a way, because that is completely political more than any of these other issues. But is it not, do you believe the courts perforce have to step in? Is this, in a sense, reflective of the limitations of our system?
No, Rajdeep, I had written it before and I have spoken on this. Ideally, we should take lessons from the past experience. So we opted for litigation in Ayodhya and ultimately one party won. So it is better in disputes of this kind that the two faith communities, ideally the local leaders of the two faith communities, sit together and find an out-of-box solution. On different airports, you have multi-faith prayer rooms. Can't we create some space for prayer by these 5 petitioners, which they have claimed they have been doing prior to 1993? So some kind of accommodation is to be done. Now, what happens the moment I talk of accommodation, as Dushyant sir is saying, it would be treated a surrender by the minority community. And then some of the leaders of the minority community would say that now you have adopted Hindutva and you are going the majoritarian way. If we need to get to some amicable outside the court solution locally, then such a solution would ensure that both the parties win, both the parties get something. Mohan Bhagwatji has said that these 3 places have a special significance. Had the Muslim community and their leadership thought of it, that about these 3 places they will show some large-heartedness, maybe about other disputes, some conducive environment of dialogue would have, been initiated and created, and that has not been done. But as far as courts are concerned, Rajdeep, there is hardly any option. We have been criticizing earlier Chief Justices for not listing the constitutional matters. Now those matters are listed and we are saying court is hyperactive.
No, I'm not. I'm using hyperactive. I'm using hyperactive in a positive sense here. Chief Justice UU Lalit, by taking up these contentious constitutional issues, putting them before constitutional benches, is perhaps doing...
But that is what the job of a Chief Justice is all about.
Okay, that's a good point to turn to Vikas Singh, because Vikas Singh, you've been president with the Supreme Court Bar Association. Are we finally seeing many of the contentious issues that have been hanging fire for a very long time finally getting before constitution benches, and is that a positive side? Do you believe that therefore the court must step in and step in faster on these constitutional issues that are kept pending for years otherwise?
So Rajdeep, if you will go back to, not very far back, say about 2-3 years back, when this Babri Masjid judgment came, you will recall that there were several attempts to try and resolve that issue without a court judgment. And in fact, the bench of Justice Gogoi also tried to mediate, and they appointed very experienced mediators for that purpose. But ultimately, the whole mediation purpose did not work out. So courts are meant to be doing ultimately this if mediation doesn't work out, and these are tough decisions to be taken, and ultimately if a decision is taken by court, then nobody questions that decision, and finally, there is no unrest, there is no heartburning, and the decision then gets implemented in a country like India, which is governed by the rule of law, and there is a respect for the rule of law. So I don't see why these contentious issues, if they are not being able to be resolved, ideally it should be resolved, by mutual discussion. But if it is not, and it is not likely to be resolved by mutual discussion, and that's our past experience, I think that's a very healthy sign that the people definitely have faith in the system and they respect a judgment of the court. So that's the right way forward. And if these are issues which have been pending in the court for a very long period of time, and if the Chief Justice of India is trying to get them listed expeditiously, it's salutary, and the bar is extremely happy that not only these matters but even other matters which have been hanging fire for years together, in fact fresh matters were not being listed in the tenure of the last Chief Justice. All those matters are now getting listed. So that's something which is a good way forward. Pendency will come down. You know, generally people who are waiting for getting justice from the court, they will at least have a say and they will have some hearing on whatever is their issue. And if the court is to decide in their favor, it will go and be decided. So I am very positive that that's the right way forward on all issues which can't be resolved outside court.